the essence of your view is that the aviation industry's claim that we're introducing new, more carbon-neutral planes, such as the 787, such as the A350, is great, but that the speed of the transition in the aviation industry is not fast enough, and therefore what we need is a proper carbon trading plan in the way that Europe has suggested.
Yes, that's correct. In a nutshell, the technology progression is fantastic, but it just takes a long time to develop. It takes a long time for this to get into the fleet. And because of the way CO2 works in the atmosphere, it accumulates faster than we emit it. So it's like a bathtub constantly filling up but never draining. What we need to do is get those emissions down, so that the kind of market-based mechanisms like emissions trading seem to be the way to go to reduce that quickly.
Do you think we should have the Europeans have caused a lot of sort of political, have raised the temperature, let's talk about raising the temperature, politically,
yes,
by suggesting a carbon trading scheme.
Yes.
That's not gone down throughout the rest of the world. Therefore, what chance do you think we will have of success here?
Yes, well, the European emissions trading scheme, if it had continued, would have saved an awful lot of CO2. Estimates are around kind of 800 million tonnes by something like 2020. However, there's been much dispute over it because it does kind of impinge on sovereignty rights, are the arguments, because of the way the scheme works with flights going in and out of Europe. They're trying to agree something at the International Civil Aviation Organization in Montreal. It's a UN agency. Progress tends to get very slowed down because you have to have political consensus across the piece. We have to remain optimistic that something will remain in place in Europe, however, while the rest of the world does develop something.
Just give me a sense of the aviation industry's contribution to the CO2 story.
In terms of annual emissions, it's not a huge amount. It's just around 2–2.5%, something like that. The problem is if we have to curb global warming to an increase of less than 2 degrees by 2100, we have to bring the emissions down very, very quickly. They have to peak globally around 2020, and then they have to come down very, very quickly. And we just can't, so aviation is likely to be a rising proportion if we go along that kind of sensible emissions pathway.